This research explores the contemporary issue of diminished student creativity and independence in American art education. Through a critique of traditional curriculum practices, this presentation advocates for a more inclusive model that combines creativity, culturally relevant teaching, and play-based learning. My objective is to teach future art teachers to foster creative agency and enhance engagement through the use of culturally relevant teaching to promote equity, cultural exploration, and creativity within art education. The issues that I analyzed for my research include a lack of student creative agency in American art education, a shift from student-based pedagogy to product-based outcomes, and a lack of student engagement due to an inability to relate to curriculum on a personal level. The key elements that I will cover are creativity, culturally responsive teaching, or CRT, and play-based learning practices. Over my years of teaching, I have seen a significant decline in student creativity and interest in art curriculum. This decline in engagement follows the thread of traditional teaching practices that are being implemented by various educational governing institutions. The focus has changed from the creative, unbridled exploration of progressivist art education to a formal product-based curriculum. Student art exhibitions are focused on the quality of the product rather than the process of creation, and these products serve to judge the effectiveness of the art educator. This pedagogical shift has caused a plethora of identical artworks being shared across multiple student populations, resulting in limited individual expression. America is more diverse than ever before, yet the works of our students are all relatively the same. In order to return creativity to art, educators need to change their role to become active participants in student-constructed learning, to allow the development of individual voices. The art room needs to evolve into a studio that marries individualism, culture, and creativity to create the perfect explorative space. Through this practice, students can become empowered to construct their own learning through experiences and experimentation. With most curriculums being based in predominantly Western models, students from culturally diverse backgrounds are often excluded from content. Culturally responsive teaching, or CRT, acknowledges and integrates diverse learners' backgrounds, ideologies, and unique understandings in the educational environment. Not only can CRT enhance engagement and academic achievement and cultural competency, but the practice also facilitates creative expression through diverse artistic traditions. Culturally responsive teaching combines curriculum with a narrative that contains various entrances and exits and allows all students to engage with and see themselves in the content. Since most educational resources are controlled by the dominant group, there's an abundance of omissions and exclusions of all other peoples in the school system. This leads to students being unable to picture themselves or relate to the content and silences their voices, leading to disengagement. By creating curriculums that are centered on students' cultures and communities, educators are able to create a safe space that is conducive to creative expression. Good presented 10 principles of possibility and highlights playing as the first and foundational principle that allows students to explore through experimentation and imagination. These principles align with the progressivist methods from the 20th century. Victor D'Amico was a noted pioneer of a child-centered pedagogy that helped shape art education as we know it today. One of D'Amico's most groundbreaking programs was the Children's Holiday Carnival of Art. This was an annual event that was based on scientific principles of child psychology and theories on creative growth. The carnival consisted of two main areas: the inspiration area, where children would interact with toys and paintings and sculptures by modern artists to gain inspiration, and the studio area, which was full of multiple mediums for children to freely create art. Instructors were present but only intervened if a child needed help getting started or operating something. There are many benefits to allowing art education to provide a means for developing individual voices. The educator scaffolds and supports based on individual needs to help students learn how to plan, calculate, and create their own research. This process aids the development of the capacity for students to express their own thoughts and perceptions of the world around them. By providing students the space to engage in play with new materials and concepts, creative growth flourishes. For my recommendations based on my research findings, I think there needs to be a redesign of not only art curriculum, but also the art room itself. The art room should reference D'Amico's carnival model by providing both a space of inspiration and of creative practice. The inspiration areas should be based on the diversity of the cultures that each school serves and include contemporary and historical references that are personally relevant to all students. The art room needs to have an inquiry based, accessible studio area with a wide range of media available to allow students to creatively play and create based on their personal interests and inspirations. The educator should operate as a collaborator in the student's learning process instead of dictating the final product. Education on CRT for pre service teachers, as well as professional development seminars for practicing educators, is essential to make these recommendations occur. In conclusion, it is the educational system's moral obligation to provide a learning environment that fosters creative thinking, employs student led learning, and encourages experimentation in a culturally responsive manner. By incorporating CRT principles and autonomous pedagogical styles into teacher preparation and professional development studies, educators can create a learning environment that empowers students to unlock their creative potential, develop their self expressionism, and contribute to a more inclusive society. In response to my findings, I created the artwork Creative Growth Through Play. I began the process of making this work by scraping tempera paint onto my paper using various cardboard pieces as my paintbrushes. I wanted to engage playfully with the materials as my students would and allow the imagery to create itself. Once the background was full, I began outlining the strokes left by the cardboard to find hidden imagery. The patchwork background is meant to represent the coming together of many cultures to form a diverse society. I found the flower forms within the patchwork and decided to emphasize them as the symbol of growth through creativity. Some contemporary artists that I recommend to engage students on a cultural and societal level include Chris Jordan, who was a lawyer turned artist. He creates these extremely moving photographic works that show the environmental dangers of our consumerist society. His work is relevant to students based on shared environmental responsibilities, and you can tailor them to be specific to your local community. Artist Kelly Remstein created a series of paintings of women in dresses holding traditionally masculine tools that speak out against gender stereotypes and provide a platform for conversations about women's equality. Her work is relevant to students based on breaking stereotypes, gender barriers, and other social issues. Hassani is a graffiti artist from Afghanistan who creates large murals and artworks using graffiti techniques to promote feminism in a male dominant society. Their latest works address the concept of national identity in the face of a mass exodus from a war torn country. Their work is relevant to our students today based on breaking gender barriers as well as investigating the concept of nationality and belonging. Yasmin explores the concept of culture and identity through the use of mixed media works of art. Whilst investigating ideals and traditions that are close to home, she repeatedly draws upon her own identity through gender, religion, and her British Bangladeshi culture and heritage. Her work is relevant to students based on breaking gender barriers and investigating the concept of culture, identity, and tradition. Our final artist is Kehinde Wiley. He pursued a career as an artist because he was unable to see himself or relate to the artwork that fills most museums, so he decided to create a place for himself and others. His work is relevant to students based on the concepts of inclusion and racial identity. The ability to think beyond societal standards, barriers, and predetermined outcomes empowers students to generate new knowledge, uncover lost or hidden narratives, and propose alternative perspectives, thus allowing them to become active participants in a democratic society. As art educators, we can provide the space and the platform for students to engage in this kind of discovery. Thank you.